Hope you're all doing well. I wanted to jump on um, and just sort of touch base on these energies. The more and more I think about it, I am really feeling this whole astro meteorologist vibe. Yeah, so I wanted to just touch base on these frequencies again. See how you guys are feeling currently here. I wanted to talk more actually about the moon because today we didn't really talk about that in the last video. We're talking more about Venus being in Scorpio and with its stellium sitting in Scorpio with the moon, but we didn't really talk about the void, of course, which is actually quite important. So we usually talk about this at length in members. This week, again, we're taking a break from that. We're going to be posting on the general channel due to some things on members that were really out of line. And so I'm going to just wait for those frequencies to die off. Again, thank you guys for your support and your patience. Let's get back into it, though, talking about, the moon. Well, today, right, we're filming this on September 11th. We are looking at the moon being in Scorpio, obviously. We don't see void of course today. So the moon is direct. The moon is quite strong. Moving forward, trucking along in Scorpio. It is again accompanied by Venus, just in the very beginning, just the little degrees here of Scorpio. It hasn't yet quite really gotten the momentum in Scorpio with Venus. The moon moves much more quickly, right, than the fastest, like, vacillating body, right? So we are looking at the moon moving through Scorpio in 2 days, whereas the Venus takes about a month, right? So that's to give perspective. The moon is already far beyond, right, the degree of that of Venus. So Venus is going to take some time. It's going to take some time to sort of build momentum, to get a little stronger here in Scorpio. But in the meantime, we've got these two planets sitting in the same sign. Now, this accompanies, we're still feeling Venus in, Libra. Whenever a planet moves from 29 degrees to zenith, it's going to be felt as a really heavy period of cleansing, of purging, of culmination. It's intense. It can feel as intensity. That's something to know, right? So even if it's already a few degrees into Scorpio, it doesn't mean that it's just like, bam, like immediately things have moved forward. We got to be gentle and patient with the cycle of Venus cycling in and out of signs. It's really a matter of grounding, okay, during this time. Give it a few days, and we will likely find that there is greater stabilization. I want to invite you guys to share in the chat. How do these energies feel for you when it comes to what you're feeling about, Venus and its shifts? Have you guys been really feeling these energies, specifically related to Libra and Venus, the archetype of Venus being the ruler of Libra, the seventh house specifically? Have you guys been feeling this? And if so, what are your thoughts? Are you feeling what we're chatting about here? Yeah. So for those of you who are like, wait, but like, gosh, it was so intense, but I feel the shift, but don't feel like it's quite recalibrated yet. Again, give it a few days. Venus is still just getting used to Scorpio, right? So, all right, but it's kind of like, somebody does have Venus at 0 degrees in the birth chart. It's not really like they just have that sign at 0 degrees. Let's give the example. Let's say someone here has 0 degrees of Venus in Libra. They're going to still have 29 degrees as well, somewhat influencing their birth chart. So they would have 29 degrees of Virgo as well. So it's really hard to just say it's this and it's not that, or it's that and it's definitely not this. And that's where we have to be patient as well with how we tell the story out. So be patient. I'm hearing this. This is a message possibly for some. If you're feeling overwhelmed by what is taking place during these times, there's a reason for what is what. And it doesn't have to make sense immediately. And that's the beauty of astrology. Sometimes, right, we say, oh, the full moon is clarity and the full moon is, this and that. It's not always, right? Sometimes we find the clarity a few days after the full moon. So it's also our perspective, okay, and our will and wanting to sort of understand what is coming up during certain times. So, yeah, but I'm hearing this concept of patience here being rather key, important. Try to keep an open mind with what comes up during this time. Don't get too hard on yourself. We're in some heavy times here. And I hope you can hear me because it's kind of loud and chaotic a bit, but seeing number 44 here. And I just saw someone walking in front of me actually, and he had this bag that had a color wheel on it, like a prismatic color wheel. So take it as you will. Could be a message for some. But again, I'm hearing don't get so caught up in what is so-called what. During these times, especially even though we have so much retrograde, things are not really as they seem, even if they seem to be very much so what you so-called see. Okay, so retrogrades are kind of illusory, and given that the ruler of Pisces, both rulers of Pisces are also retro, it's further illusory. It can be, but that's not, it doesn't have to be. It's a matter of what your perception metrics is. So if you're trying to understand something based on something very specific, you might feel confused at this time. So on a scale of 1 to 10, is this helpful? Are these messages helpful? Do you feel like they confirm things for you? Or is it like confusing? What do you guys feel about these messages? Yeah, so I find it helpful to sort of reflect on, and I'm starting to see it more as like a synastry moment. So we all have a moment of synastry with every moment. It's interesting to see every day astrologically as sort of a moment to reflect on the archetypes and the energy. So for example, let's say we're looking at like 5 planets in Libra right now, right? Or the other day, right? Not anymore, but the other day. Okay, let's say that we had a few planets in Libra, right? You can see how you feel with these energies. It's kind of like a mini synastry chart reading. That is a little clue there. And this is something interesting to look into. And this is where I want to get more into the daily energies and frequencies, but looking at it from this standpoint. So if you're curious, and this can change, and the interesting thing is that it's a different vibe every day. So yeah, like even if somebody is born on September 5th, you got 2 people with the same birthday, they're not going to have the same birth chart. Every minute changes. So heck, it would be so cool. You know what? I'm getting an idea. It would be so cool even. Maybe we'll do this. Like I was thinking of doing this where the whole day through, we just vlog the whole day through. And we literally move through the motions of, damn, that would be so cool. I'm actually really thinking of that. It's like a human live calendar, something like this, where we literally have it live and we experience it minute by minute as these transits move through. Because I'm popping in every so often, right? But it would be kind of neat. It would be kind of neat. This is the theory we had with the hourly. But now I'm thinking, what if we were just on live the whole time? And we, we just felt it move through. Kind of like a shifting light with different colors. So it's a little strange maybe what I'm explaining here, but we'll see what we end up doing with this, because it might be kind of neat. Like, you guys share your thoughts. Like, imagine, like a live, oh my god, that lady is gonna, she cussed him out. Oh my god. Oh man. So yeah, but and it's so fascinating to see things, even around you. Sometimes, it's like just some days are like, not just you, it's like you go outside, you see what's going on around you, it's like, damn. And that's also where astrology can be quite helpful. Yeah. Whenever a planet is at 29 degrees, 28, 27, even 26, yeah, it's a time, it's a moment. People get kind of, it's like a mini full moon. People get kind of kooky. They get kind of like, intense. Wouldn't it be so helpful if everybody were relatively into astrology? So yeah, this guy was just walking by. He had a huge box of goldfish. Interesting. So You know what I mean? I feel like, yeah, and here's the thing, it's really interesting with the moon is that it is, again, so vacillating. So every day we kind of have a mini full moon. Every day we have a sort of full cycle. Every time the moon goes into a sign, give me a second, you guys. Every time the moon goes into a new sign, we have a mini full moon experience. And so that is the magic that we talk about on members when it comes to the moon cycle and why it's important. Yeah, everything is in cycles. It's like the Fibonacci sequence, right, you guys? There's a cycle within a cycle within a cycle, which is why we say, you know, the new moon and the full moon have their own new moons and their full moons, the multiplicity space, right? I'm seeing 333 here. So I'm seeing threes everywhere here now. So yeah, hopefully you guys find these videos helpful. They are like readings, you know, but always take it as you will. Channel message it is as well, those of you wondering. And anyways, so going back to it, yeah. So we can say, well, oh, like, you know, today is like 5 days away from the full moon and like yada yads, but even halfway, right? In between the full moon and the new moon, we have like a mini sort of cycle that closes out. And that's another point of, we'll say, magic to the moon cycle. To manifestation is that it's not just the full moon. It's not just the new moon. It is halfway in between the two as well. Everything is relevant. And, you know, that does, of course, also bring it back full circle to the concept of you are not just your sun sign in your birth chart. It's everything all together. It's a whole connective conversation of all elements and all archetypes, all frequencies. And so the more that you take everything into consideration, even with astrology, it's clearing around. Yeah. For example, well, I'm going to give you another example. Let's say it's a full moon, right? It's not going to just be that full moon. It's going to be, look, you can have 2 full moons in Aquarius, right? Which we actually did. But we're talking, you know, a year apart. Frick. They could be totally different in terms of the energy they bring forth, that they cast on your story. I'm hearing that as well. So if you got one full moon, right, it may be in alignment with other factors in the chart, simultaneous aspects that bring up different flavors to what you may be experiencing. So bringing it back again to the fact that all charts, all casting of all charts, it will be different. Yeah, so you can even have 2 people with the same birth chart and it will come down to will. So yeah, it's interesting. And then that will come back around the circle to how you're subsisting in the storyline on a macro scale. So it's kind of like the butterfly effect, everything affecting everything. So in other words, if you have an apple in 2 different realities, right? That apple can mean different things based on its context. So everything, yeah. So, but I'm seeing in terms of ascension. So even if we have the same experience, so-called, but let's say we've ascended further, then it will mean something completely different. So how many of you are with me on this? I feel like it's getting out there. Okay. All right. And I tend to watch videos over. I'm seeing 4 here. Sometimes we derive different things at different times. So let's clear it around. Furthermore, yeah. Every few days, we have a mini cycle that we experience. Every new moon, full moon corresponds as well to a further 6-month cycle. You have the new moon in one sign correlate to the full moon in the same sign 6 months down the line. And then you have the, yeah, so, but this also takes place in broader, more long-term 6-year cycles as well. So everything, yeah, so it's a key to incorporate the notion of unity consciousness in every story. I'm not sure what that's alluding to for everybody, but there are so many factors, in other words, and what comes up at certain cycles and stages is not random. So if you want to understand what's going on now, so-called, look 6 months back, look 6 years back. There's a reason for everything. So yeah, again, I'm hearing butterfly effect. So this is maybe a particular message that Spirit wants to come through. There are things affecting us that we're not aware of at all times. I'm hearing this as well. Let's clear. Yeah, there could be factors Yeah, so definitely want to meditate as well. If you find trouble specifically with certain transits, where certain energy frequencies are really hard to move through, you'll know how you are doing with that frequency based on how much clarity you feel you have. So let's give an example. Let's say there are like 3 planets in Libra, and you're having a certain reaction during that time. You're feeling certain things come up. That's a clue for you in terms of how you're integrating that consciousness in your personal story. So I'm hearing outside of yourself. Oh, interesting. Okay, well, so how is it going for you guys here? I keep getting, messages coming up about friends. I don't know what this is. You know, is anybody feeling lonely? We were talking about this earlier. Um, yeah. So, this is something coming up for whatever reason. Try not to get caught up in what friends mean. I'm hearing that as well. What are friends? This is not the same thing for everyone. First of all, you could be fucking popular and feel so lonely, right? So maybe there is a theme of the, yeah, I'm feeling pressure in the heart chakra. There's a theme of this coming up. Okay, when it comes down to our values and what it is that we feel is in alignment. If you're feeling like you don't want to hang out with certain people and you're wondering, am I being antisocial? This is a general video. You have to talk to your personal practitioner. This is a reading, a video channeling for entertainment purposes only. But just know that this is a concept, especially because we're still really, really experiencing this heavy, thick, I'm going to call it a fog, because it's right as we dipped out of 29 of Libra. We've transcended Libra. We've moved through the 12th house of Libra. Again, cycles within cycles. And this is we're still experiencing it heavily. In addition, we have Mercury in retrograde in Libra. So to say it in this way, in a more simple manner, it's complicated, okay? When it comes to understanding what Libra means to us here today. The concept of Libra, Venus, partnerships, friendship, what is it to us? And I'm getting that a lot of people right now are feeling lonely, and I'm not sure exactly for everybody. Of course, you have to take it as you will. Maybe you feel like you got a lot of people around you, but you're feeling lonely, or you're wondering, why is it that I'm not feeling integrated? Like, I would always find that this would satisfy me, but it's not. Okay, I'm seeing that as well. That can be normal with such a focus on regeneration of Libra energy. So you will find most likely some sort of clarity in relation to that around 3 degrees of the Venus Scorpio on the 13th approximately of September. So I'm going to look in the chat now. Yes. Spiritual communities, online spiritual communities, and nature. Yeah, I've honestly found transcendence through the most challenging experiences, and I'm hearing opportunities in my life in nature. Okay. And sometimes we think, oh, it's going to get better by talking to a specialist, and this is a general video again, but we think, oh, I have to talk my way through it and go to talk to a psychologist or however. Sometimes it may not be, but again, this is a general video. This video is for entertainment purposes only. Sometimes it's the silence and the connecting and the reconnecting to nature. Sometimes it's the decompression, okay? And the release of expectations, okay? And you have to understand where you're at, obviously, with that concept on your personal journey. But I found that we are nature, right? And so it is really our source. And I think that most of us are probably on that spectrum of not really living in accordance with nature. So it's probably rare that it's like the other way around, like, oh, I am like too much in nature and like I'm getting like stressed. It's like usually the fact of we are overly civilized and that we're on that other side of the spectrum. So it's not really normal for humans to be living in the ways that they are today. That's setting aside obviously the health, the biology questions, right, that we are so-called answering today. with things that don't actually reach the source, the root of the problem, which is also consciousness, because all disease originates in a conscious state first. So let's clear it around. Yeah. It is to say that nature can be your answer. It doesn't mean that it will be always. That's where you have to understand your story and how you want to now tell it out. There might be phases in your life, in other words, where you say, I know this isn't right for me, but let me see where it will lead me. We talked about that in Scorpio. You know, sometimes you know something is not right, but you need to understand it. And yeah, I've talked about that before as well, where people ask me, oh, like, why don't you just get over so and so? And like, oh, they're just a player. And like, oh, and like all of this, right? Nonsense of ego. Okay, egotistically needing to supersede experiences that bring your vulnerabilities forth, but in a manner where you can understand your strength more deeply. If you're having a hard time or experience, challenging, okay, sometimes it's, hey, I don't want to just get over so and so. I don't want to just rebound, even if it is, I'm not going to seek understanding of this experience more deeply. Okay, don't be ashamed to understand what is going on. And so many people are so obsessed with getting back on track. What does that even mean? Okay? No, and we all have our own ways of healing from experiences. So, yeah, let's clear it in ground. I've had a number of experiences where people don't understand. Well, yeah, again, why don't you just get over so and so? All right. Well, and honestly, if you truly did, if your higher self was wanting a certain experience, you would experience it. So, you know, yeah, and so it's about being honest. I think ultimately it comes down to being frank with yourself. What do I feel? Okay, do I want to maybe like think about what's going on here, or are my friends encouraging me to just run away and forget about so and so? Sometimes we need to understand exactly for ourselves. And yeah, it's like society is like so afraid of like, and this is general video again, but extremes. And this is where it will get very interesting, because we've had a false sense of security during this whole Virgo stellium with Libra situation. And as we step into Scorpio, I feel like everything is going to just kind of like collapse that was not real. Where people were like, oh, I'm getting over my problems. It's cool. Like, it's like, what? How do you get over your problems? What are your problems? You know what I'm saying? So it's not to say ha 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 and point fingers, but it's a matter of just what is it that you really feel. And we're all reflections, right, for one another. What someone is experiencing is reflective, right? If we're observing them experience that. So yeah, like yeah. And people, be just aware of who you get advice from, because people are also, they kind of like try to find power like in your experiences. Like they don't really realize that they do that, but it's like, oh, like, I can't bear the thought. It's like that so and so with so and so, and it's like, they kind of, again, they don't have necessarily negative intention. And what is negative intention? But they're not in that space of like, oh, I want to tell so and so what to do. If anything, they may even say, hey, this is I'm saying it for your own good. It's like, really though? Like, okay, you're telling me to just like forget about something and get over something. Like, you're not even being receptive clearly to what I'm experiencing. This might be a message for some. So if somebody's trying to, yeah, it's like people who are like kind of who feel like they want to. Should I keep walking? Yeah. Yeah, it can sorry guys, I'm a little distracted. It can be kind of derailing, right? This whole concept of advice. Again, because I'm just getting this vision of like people who are like telling you to do certain things, like they don't really even know that that's the so-called right thing to do, and there is no right thing to do. I feel like anyone who's asserting a right way to do something in very particular is not It's not really like what is that? Like, how do you, it's like being like, oh yeah, this is the right answer. Like, no, we're all different, and there's not a tailored approach like that is, you know, for all. I don't know. This is maybe a very specific message. Let's clear it. So yeah. Anyways, you guys, it's been really lovely. Thank you guys for connecting, and let me know if this video is helpful. Feel free to hit the like button. And what else? Any other quick little notes? Yeah, just be aware of people's intentions as well. You know, you know, what are people being? What's the motivation? So take it as you will. I'm saying 4-4 here, yeah, 4-4 here again. Take it as you will. Like, what are? Take it as you will. Okay, like there are so many different scenarios, but just meditate on this. If you're trying to get advice from someone, like, what's their perspective? You know, and it kind of goes along with that story of, is this where I want to be at? Love and light to you guys. I'll see you in the next videos. Bye.